Hi, I'm Jay. Pronouns are he, they, him.
And I'm Gray. Pronouns are she, her, hers.
And we have
a lot to say.
Hi, Gray.
Hi, Jay. You look cozy. I know why. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So I do have the dogs with me, so if we hear any barking, oh look.
Oh well. Hi, Loke. Special guest. Yeah. Speaking of special guests, this is our special Warrior Nun episode. We're very excited.
Yes. So if you're watching it, it's December the 13th. So that means it's been a year since we got the dreaded news. But yeah, we don't want to think about the news. We want to look back on. Sorry, guys. We want to look back on what we've accomplished as a fandom and how we all came together. So we decided to discuss with a few people. And I mean a few. That's a lot.
Yeah, kind of a few. Yep. So we have a few in-person interviews, and we've had several people from around the world send in written answers or videos, all to our same questions. And then Jay has a very special what if that we asked all of our guests.
Interviewers.
Interviewees.
Yeah. Not the ones that have written in, they were unaware of this, so it's
okay,
just the ones
just the video ones.
Yeah,
good point.
Just the ones that we've spoken to.
All right.
But yeah.
So without further ado.
I was going to say, there's no other special segments. We are literally just doing one episode. It's purely Warrior Nun related and the fight and what we've done. And even better, Simon's going to know about this episode.
Apparently. How interesting for us. Anyway.
Yeah.
All right.
On to it.
Without further ado, our first guests, Sarah and Kelsey. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Hi, Jay and friends. We have friends today.
We do. We have Kelsey and Sarah with us, if everyone knows who they are. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, I am Sarah. I am the one most likely attributed to the GoFundMe account, as I am the owner of it. But Kelsey and I did work on the Warrior Nun projects and buy all those billboards that people saw. But yeah, that's who I am.
Fabulous.
I'm great.
Your enthusiasm is really high. I need you to...
I'm just really trying to tone it down so you guys don't get overwhelmed. It's just...
We appreciate you. We appreciate you for that.
Thank you.
And I'm Kelsey. I worked with Sarah on the GoFundMe and all the billboards for the Save Warrior Nun project. You probably heard me in a lot of spaces. We did a bunch of updates on things that we were working on, and it was just a really good time.
Sounds good.
Thank you both for joining us. We appreciate it.
Yes, we appreciate it a lot. And thank you for the work that you guys did on the campaign. The original campaign, as I'm calling it now, because obviously we're on part 2.
I guess we have to.
But I did appreciate it. And I think on my other Twitter account, I did tweet you, Sarah, and you actually retweeted me back, which, I felt, oh my God.
Oh, love it.
And I think it was when it was my old name, before obviously I decided to transition. So I was like, oh, I feel special. Because I think it was the time that you were getting hate for the billboard. And I turned around and went, why? Like, just shut up. And it was annoying me.
Yeah, it got a little rough at the very beginning when things started to actually pick up and get serious, I would say, with all the real money, I would say, coming in, because it's a smaller fandom. I think everybody going into it expected it to not be as big as it did get. So when it did start to get more attention, more attention comes with more negativity, and it's just a part.
Yeah,
fortunately.
Unfortunately, definitely. So how did you both find Warrior Nun? How did you stumble upon the amazing show that it is?
Kelsey, you go.
Okay. So I was just kind of scrolling through Netflix, and I saw a show that said Warrior Nun. And so I grew up Catholic, very Catholic, Irish Catholic. And I was like, Warrior Nun? Okay, I gotta check this out. Just, I just had to. I felt an instant connection. So I started watching it and I was just like, what the hell is this? This is fucking amazing. There's women that are beautiful and kicking ass and strong and independent. And wait, this chick's in an orphanage and that Irish nun is awful. Yep, that lines. So, everything just tracked all together and immediately just binged the first season. Second season came out, binged that, and immediately just like started jumping on Twitter and watching what everyone was doing. And then everything just led me here. So really, thanks Catholic school. You did one thing right for me. You brought me here. So
Jay can relate.
Catholic school.
I was gonna say Jay can relate to that one.
Yes. We did an episode about education, and I was talking about Catholic school and how I got suspended because I came out gay, and they were having a go at me saying obviously it's against, how did they do? And I turned around and went, well, at least I'm having sex, and I got suspended for it. So
right,
I applaud.
Legendary.
Yes.
Ooh.
So I
The same
do
thing happened to
understand.
me. Same thing happened to me in middle school. I was the lesbian like goth girl, and everybody was just talking all the smack. And I like at one point I failed theology class because I wouldn't answer questions like on any of the tests, and I would call out how they were bigots and et cetera, et cetera. I basically all of middle school was just like detention and a counselor that was really just a religion teacher. So it was a really good time.
Love life.
Yeah.
Sounds like wow.
Welcome to Catholic school, Gray.
Yeah.
Ooh. Ooh.
I missed so much. Really.
Yeah. My journey isn't as grand as Kelsey's. I actually put it off watching it on Netflix because I saw the name and I'm like, this is that's a name. That's quite the name. And then the quarantine hit, and then I just went through all the TV shows on Netflix. I ended up watching Warrior Nun and actually really loved it. And I was, watching for the second season come out. I think I watched the second season in a day. I think it came out on a Friday, Saturday, a day that I didn't work. And I watched it all. And then a couple weeks later, we got that news.
So what especially made Warrior Nun meaningful or special to you guys?
I mean, I just said that, I grew up Catholic, Irish Catholic. My grandparents are from Ireland, so it was very, very religious upbringing, very kind of conservative leaning a little bit. And I think just with like the different personalities. So you had Ava, who is incredibly bouncy and rebellious and very like, regardless of how she grew up and where she came from, she had this kind of free spirit. And I identified with her a lot because in my family, I'm kind of the rebellious one. The first thing when I started getting tattoos, my mother said, do not get a tattoo on your arm. So,
Nice.
naturally, we learned that you don't tell me not to do something because my brain is going to go, what a good idea.
Love it.
We should do that. But then you had Beatrice, who did hold so much, kind of repressive energy for herself and who she was and what she wanted to do and what she believed and kind of the back and forth. And so seeing all that, and then you had sweet little Camilla, so all the diverse characters, all the diverse characteristics of those characters, those all come into play. And then you just have an amazing storyline that caters to it with amazing VFX, amazing music. I mean, everything just blended in together in this beautiful portrait of a piece. And then Warrior Nun was created. And it was just like, wow, I identify this, but I also really enjoy it. It's not like I'm watching a documentary where I'm like, oh, that's amazing. It's just more of, I could watch this 1,000 times and I'd be okay with that. I'm never leaving my house again. This is fine. I'm here for it.
My love or the connection with the show came a bit later, I think, for me, because I went into it, after all the things that I watched were, I finished everything on Netflix. It was kind of like one of the things that I put on the back burner. And so my appreciation for the show came later and more towards the end, when things, when the campaign started and I, gathered friends and family. I heard their stories, and then looking back and on all the rewatches and participating, I was like, okay, yeah, I do relate more to this character than I thought I did, because I did take a lot more time looking into all the details of the show, all their stories, and then along with that, the friends that I made with it. And so it was just like, oh, it was easier to relate after it, because I just gained more of my appreciation than initially watching the show. But I do appreciate that every story seems to be organic rather than a token character or just kind of cliche and predictable. But I did appreciate that.
Well, we've already kind of spoke on the back of Warrior Nun in a previous episode, so sorry, listeners, you're hearing it again. Warrior Nun for me became really special when my mum watched it. My mum was never accepting of me. She then watched the show, season 1 especially, and the scene, everybody knows the scene where don't hate what you are is beautiful scene. Mum watched that episode and then rang me and was crying down the phone, and she was like, I understand how you feel now. I'm so sorry I put you through that and all of that. So that's when Warrior Nun became really special to me, was because my mum finally accepted, well, the gay part of me. She doesn't know about the trans part yet, because that's only a recent development. But it was really like, okay, this show is important. The fact that it's helping my very religious, my very Catholic mother understand that it's not a choice, it's who you are, regardless of how you were brought up or where you were brought up and things like that. So that's why Warrior Nun became special to me on that basis. And then obviously all the fans, all the friendships, the family that we've made. Mm-hmm. Like you, Sarah, it's the afterwards. Like, I've got such a close group of friends now. Friends from all over the world that I never thought I would.
It's amazing how much the show changed like lives in so many variety of ways. Mm-hmm. Whether you're gay, straight, otherwise, it doesn't matter.
So you touched on it before we started asking the questions about doing the billboards and things, but what else did you contribute during the fight, and how did you go about deciding the billboards were the best way to bring content and things to get the fight global?
I think first, initially, within fandoms, it's the most agreed upon tactic. It's not something that everybody outwardly disagrees with. It's something that they can see, being agreeable with everybody's money going towards something singular. With that, we did start with our goals being pretty small, like sending flowers and balloons to Netflix to show them like, hey, we're still being nice, we're still here, we're wanting the show. And then when our budget increased, we were then able to go ahead and go forward with the larger billboards. But everything that we did was done off of input with professionals. So nothing that we did was, oh, this looks nice, I think we should go do it. It was gathering input from lawyers, from media agencies, from the billboard agencies themselves, and people within the industry giving feedback and like, yes, this would be a good tactic, this wouldn't, I would avoid this. But that's what we did so far, or that's what we did.
No, that's amazing.
Didn't you go see it, Gray?
I was about to say, so I live in LA, so I actually did go see the billboard. I'm curious how you ended up with that location of the billboard, because it was perfect, clearly.
So I had already had a contact at the media company that we were going with.
Oh, okay.
But prior to that, basically, the way that we were working was we knew that Netflix had multiple offices. But I work in corporate America. Sarah works in corporate, like a lot of people work in corporate America. We know that multiple offices doesn't always mean like, oh, you can have a corporate office, but is that where they sit? Is that where their office is? Or are those the people that are going to see it? Or are those going to be customer service, designers, etc.? So we did a bunch of research trying to configure all the offices all together, and then seeing where they were, and did a certain executive have their work address somewhere on the interwebs. So we looked all of that up over the course. At this point, Sarah and I were staying up until like 4 o'clock in the morning most days. waking up really, really early, like around 7 or 8, and conversing about this first thing in the morning, going to our jobs, conversing in the afternoon about all of it. So after, I think it was probably a few days, maybe a week of just continuously living online and talking about everything, we found out, okay, this office is more or less Ted Sarandos is there. I can't remember her name, but like the upper exec of like all the finances and kind of calls the shots on things, like on budget. That's where her office is. Their studio where they do the premieres of new shows and new movies that they're going to have is there. So we were like, and there's a billboard right there. And that is Caddy Corner. And where it's Caddy Corner, what's the address and what unit would that be in the building? That's their office. That's literally, they're going to sit down at their desk and they're going to have to stare at this damn billboard for however long. So then I reached out to my contact and I was like, hey, how much would it be? We've talked before. We've kind of worked previously in the past. How much would the budget be? What time length are we willing to get, et cetera, et cetera. So after lots of, and big shout out to our legal team, big shout out to our graphic designers. I mean, they were just back and forth. It was like, you have to do this, you have to change this, we have to change this, we have to add this, we shouldn't do this, we shouldn't do this. Well, we might be able to get away with it over and over and over and over again for hours and hours and hours. And again, people are working, people are going to school full time, et cetera. These are all professionals. And I think Sarah took like 3 weeks maybe to get it finally up, or actually maybe a month.
Yeah, 3 weeks to a month, because we had picked the art, but it was the finer details within the art that we had to keep correcting. So it would take 3 or 4 days for one to be sent in, and then another couple days for it to get approved or denied. Most of the time it was denied, but within that process, we eventually found that art or the billboard.
Because I remember when the GoFundMe page went out originally. I remember when it went out, and I was like, oh, which I did donate to, because why not? And then I was like, okay. And then I kept seeing the updates, though, because I don't know if it was you, Sarah, or you, Kelsey, kept saying, oh, bear with us. There's more, bear with us, because you're getting asked quite a bit. And then I remember the announcement that it came out. Funnily enough, I don't remember where I was because it was on a space. And I was sat in the bath listening to it because it was like really late at night and I was needed to have a bath. And then I remember them saying, oh yeah, we've got the build outside Netflix. And I was like, fuck's sake, that's like the perfect place to have it.
So it was so epic.
It was so epic.
No.
And then obviously the London one, you did like, it was posters, weren't it, around London where they did like a walk.
They were, the London one were smaller digital billboards, so roadside. They were 8-9 feet tall, I think.
Yeah, they're on our bus stops.
Yeah, those were the smaller ones. The larger ones were more along the highway. But I was like, I want people to be able to go and take pictures of it, not on a highway. So we settled with I think it was 8 or 9 smaller ones instead of one big one.
See, unfortunately, I didn't go to that. I know. I was working and other stuff. I don't live in London. I live about 2.5 hours on the train away. 3 hours in a car. So depending. I live further north. So, but no, I didn't go to that. But I know a lot of people that did, and obviously they sent me photos and stuff, and I was like, that's so cool. And then I was tempted just to Photoshop myself so it looked like I'd went, but I couldn't do that.
I mean, we did it with our friend Kate. We photoshopped her head on a stick figure drawn body at the LA meetup. It's totally fine.
When Simon made the original announcement that we were getting the show back, how did you feel? Like, what were your emotions, thoughts, reaction? Did you sleep?
Well, so it's actually Sarah texted me and was like, "Did you see Simon's post?" And I was like, "No, about what?" It's like I wasn't expecting anything, so I was like, "No." And I actually don't go on Twitter too often anymore. So when I looked at it, I was like, "Oh, holy shit, what the fuck?" And she was, and Sarah in true fashion responded with, "I know, right?"
Yeah.
Love it.
What else? Yeah.
What else do you say?
Yeah, exactly. It's fairly fitting.
I know, right?
I mean, yeah. Don't know what else. Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what happened. For myself, I think, didn't Simon, my memory's terrible, so didn't Simon create or send like a sun rising GIF?
Yeah, so
earlier in the day he sent the sun rising.
so
Yeah.
if we remember, Gray, obviously I was in the hospital, weren't I? And I tweeted it, sent it to the group, and I went, he's done it the day that I'm in fucking hospital. They're going to announce that it's fucking it. So I was raving about that because I was like, by the time I get home, they're going to announce it and I'm going to be asleep. And then
Just
he announced it, and literally precise. As soon as I got home, fell asleep at like 4 a.m. and he announced it at 4:30 my time. And I was like,
that's kind of exactly what happened with me. Is like I saw the sunset, and then nothing. I think within that hour was posted. So I'm like, it's gonna happen when I'm asleep, and then that's when it happened. I woke up, and then texted everybody, and I went straight back to bed. I'm like, oh,
guys, it happened.
This is great. It happened. We won. Okay, good night.
Yeah.
But
to be fair, Sarah's soul is like 98 years old. She needs her naps and snacks.
Yes.
That is it.
Okay. Yeah, pretty much.
All the time. Naps and snacks, baby.
Mm-hmm.
Call of Duty, that's it.
Recently discovered the value of naps myself, so yes.
Yeah, that was great. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Yeah.
But I was asleep when it was announced. But remember when it was the original website thing and they were announcing it was the 3 films? That was at 2 a.m. my time. And everybody from the group, including you, Gray, were messaging me going, wake up, wake up, wake up.
We were.
My missus woke me up and went, it's been renewed for 3 films. I went, oh, that's nice. And then I went back to sleep. So I was just fine. I don't care by this point. I need my sleep. That's more important. And then the next day when I actually woke up, I went, oh, 3 films. That's amazing. Like, what the fuck? And they're like, you're a bit late now, Jay. And I was like, I was sleeping.
The rest of us had already come back down off our high. And Jay was like, whoosh, here we go again.
But on that, what are your thoughts on the future of Warrior Nun, given what we've learned recently?
At first, initially, I did a bit of a timeline cleanse. I'll be honest. Like, my tweets weren't very kind towards whoever these people are. But then I kind of sat back and I was just like, this probably isn't the way to go. Because they do have the rights and everything. But I came to the conclusion that there's the potential. Like with everything, there's the potential that it could be good. They just, one, have to listen to the audience a bit in the way that if they're wanting to continue worrying on how it is, they have to have some key things implemented into their next story. And I think it can be successful if they do that. But I'm waiting to see what they actually decide. It's just a waiting game for me on my end. I'm very cautious in extending praise and then also same with criticism because I don't want to like mess anything up or, give too much praise and then it being kind of crappy. So it's just like, I'm just kind of in the back, in the shadows, just watching. But I see the potential of it being good. I hope it is, but I am waiting. So we'll see.
Our little wallflower, just kind of
I know.
sitting and watching and waiting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Gray's the same though.
I exercise a lot of caution as far as reactions, mostly because I make TikToks for mostly very young people who tend to get very about everything. So I'm just like, just give it a minute.
It's fair.
There's still strikes happening. We don't.
And I feel like me and Kelsey are the fiery ones. Yeah.
There's just a lot.
Me and Kelsey are the reactors in this one.
That's true. I did spend a lot of time doing this to Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm more like in the beginning. I was like, when it kind of became clear that there was no clear answer, that there was no clarity. For me, transparency is a giant thing. It's my favorite word. And the fact that there was none, I was livid. I was like, oh, fuck this. Absolutely not. Personally, like my feelings were all over the place. So like, you know, like knowing how many people in the fandom and personal friends of mine as well, like, you know, people that I consider like best friends now, some people I consider family and like loved ones, put forth so much effort. And then to kind of come back and be like, we don't have X, Y, and Z, or like we're not answering questions, or then like the Halo contest happened and it was just kind of like, so you're
Sorry.
what? Yeah, well, exactly. I was like, so what are we doing here? You know, like we fought for one thing and it kind of seems sketchy, like you're trying to cater and give another. Absolutely the fuck not. No. I'm not here for that. So, but then I did kind of take a step back and I'm like, okay, so let's say they're just idiots. And that's okay. People do dumb shit all the time. That's fine. Not all of us think before we speak. Cool. So what we can do is try to push them in the direction with ease and grace that's on fire into the correct direction. Basically say like, you know, if you want to succeed, this is the route you need to take. If you don't want to succeed, keep doing what you're doing. Like if you want a sunken investment, you are doing the prime example of that. But if you want an investment, because business wise, right, you want your investment to grow and flourish. Go the route that the fans are going, which is inherently different, you know, but we've set the tone. So I think if people keep setting the tone of this is what we want, we understand that there are certain steps that you need to take. We will help you take those steps and kind of protect your investment if you can basically just be transparent and open and be like, hey guys, we're working on it. Or hey guys, we're still signing contracts. Like give the people something. Don't bullshit. Like my mother used to say is don't blow smoke up our ass. So, you know, like don't blow smoke up the fandom's ass. This is not a chimney. All right. Well, we're burning your house down.
I mean, I think there was, I mean, I obviously knew that a lot went into the Save Warrior Nun campaign because I was on Twitter a decent amount, but like just hearing you guys talk more in detail about how many other outside people you consulted and how like this was a legit professional with not being paid operation. And I feel like some of the people involved maybe did not realize that people involved with saving the show or the movies or whatever maybe didn't quite realize the general scope of it. Like this was legit and we're not taking crumbs, we're not taking smoke, like you said. Like we know what we want and we want it.
I mean I think it's like the same when this competition came out, which was a
Jay
load of
has
bullshit
thoughts
in my
on
eyes.
Ben Dunn.
I don't like Ben Dunn.
He's read the
I've read the comics, and I've read one comic because I could not read the rest. I'm a massive comic book nerd. All Marvels, read them multiple times. So I was like, it's come from a comic. I love comics. Let me read it. It was the most misogynistic comic I've ever read in my entire life. And the way that he portrayed them in the illustration, I was just like, So obviously when I've seen that he was running the competition, I thought straight away, Gray had to calm me down a lot. Lot, because I was livid. Because I was like, he shouldn't be running it because it's not his story anymore. Because it's Simon's story, really, if you think about it. He's the one that created the Warrior Nun that we love, the one that we watch. Ben didn't. It was based off his idea, yes, but it's not his story anymore, so he shouldn't be running it. And it feels like they are going down that route because he is running more. He is having more meetings with production people, from what I've seen anyway, of the screenshots people have taken from Facebook. And I was just like, this is not going to go well. And then I was like, if that's going down that route, then it'll go down to anime. And I don't like anime. So I was like, oh no, I'm not going to be able to watch it because it just, I don't like it. I can't get into it. The only animation I can get into is Disney because, I have a soft heart. Anime, trust me, people have got me into it and I've just like, no. So, but the competition was a load of, I'm sorry, but it was a load of bollocks. It was a load of shit. First of all, he said, you choose, and then the winner gets no rights, is what I remember reading, whatsoever, doesn't get paid for their artwork if they win. And then they said that we would vote on it. So like the top 3 would then be us as fans would vote on the artwork, and then all of a sudden on the anniversary of season 2 being released, they announced the winner.
I don't remember any voting. Does anyone else remember any
There was
voting?
no voting. There was no voting. But what made me laugh was, and this is what I loved about the fandom, was the fandom literally came together, and the fake ones that were being illustrated of onion rings and all of that, I thought it was the most brilliant.
Epic level trolling.
I was like, I love this, because it was not in a malicious way. It was just, here's my entry, and it's an onion ring, or it's, I don't know, a donut and stuff. And I was like, this is brilliant. Like, keep them coming, because it was just like, we're saying no and we're standing up, because you're using, I feel like they're trying to use the fans to do their own campaign so they don't have to pay anybody. And that's not right either. I have thoughts, very bad thoughts. And if I get hate for it, then I get hate for it. But
I think
that's
there was
my opinion.
I mean, I can only assume that if it's running like any other business I've worked in, and I've worked in like a similar industry way back in the day, you always had 2 sets of people in the room. You had a set that was like, we should do this because they see what like fans want, they see what like the market wants. And then you have the other side of the table that has the deeper pockets and the whiter hair, who don't listen quite as well. And they're the ones who are kind of going, well, what is going to be more affordable? We haven't looked into a damn thing. We were just brought into this as like an investor, or and they don't care. They all they think about is, what's the budget? How much money are we looking to make? How, like, that is it. They don't give a shit about the storyline. They don't give a shit about I mean, the industry I worked in, it was like kind of production media. So it was like, you know, what collectibles are going to sell. We don't give a shit what it's tuned to, if it's, you know, PC, what have you. All they cared about was money. And then there was, again, the other side of the table going, no, don't do that. You're going to waste money. And there was always a portion of wasted money. There always were. I think what makes this fandom a little bit different than a lot of others is we've heard from, you know, it wasn't only Simon that we were hearing from. We were hearing from William, Christina, we were hearing from all the various writers, the VFX folks. So Michael is still very, very engaged with the fandom. You know, there's so many different personalities and creatives that were part of the process still with us. I think it's just more so like, yeah, if people need to feel angry, hell yeah, feel angry. I'm all for it. I love a good rage party. But I think if anyone's going to implement change, it's going to come down to trying to see it from a scope of business mixed with what you want. Like, I like anime. I would not watch that shit on anime. I'm not doing it. Okay, this is not Teen Titans on Cartoon Network. I'm not doing it.
No. True.
I want.
That's what I find anime is. Sorry, but I don't like
listen.
it.
That's not all anime.
You haven't watched Harley Quinn. You haven't watched Harley Quinn, bro. That's the only one I can watch.
I just can't get into it, man. I can't get into it. I've tried. Trust me, I've tried.
Okay, there's other animes out there. Yeah. But I mean, like, I get it. The whole thing is just, there's so much fog and no clarity, and it's maddening because we fought for so long. And it's just like, at some point, somebody needs to just be forthright and come out and be like, we messed up, or we meant to do this, or, you know, just be human about it and not robotic. That is what the people want. They want humans, not robots.
Yeah. And I feel like the fact that it hasn't happened yet is sketchy. Like, literally all Dean has to do, since Dean is the one that seems to be in charge here, and it's clearly not Simon, is be like, here's what we have, here's what we don't have. But I feel like the fact that he's not means that he knows what he does have is not what we want. And that's been made very clear. So now he's like, what do I do? I mean, I've said speaking of business things, like I've said from the get-go, it would be ridiculous for them to attempt this without the cast and the characters and the people that we all clearly want. I mean, look what happened yesterday. Alba reappears for 1 second and is immediately trending on Twitter. Like, this is a gold, like, I don't know anything about business. I am like an amateur content creator, but like, this is content gold. These people are content gold for this fandom, and they have not taken advantage of that at all. Netflix didn't at all. We all know this. And anyone who is going to try to make this successful needs to do that. Like, this is a very plugged in fandom, and the fact if they try to do it without them, it's not going to work. I don't think.
But personally, I think a lot of the weight or payment that I felt in the process of that is seeing the cast and the crew being involved and saying their thanks and noticing the things that we were able to put out. Along with that, I think it kind of goes hand in hand because, I mean, a business is a business. I'm sure we all are aware that they're not blind to what's been going on in the fandom and their critiques and criticism. So with that, I hope they're taking note to where, you know, seeing the content that we've put out along with the cast and crew's involvement, that it is valuable, like kind of how Gray, it is gold.
It's gold.
It is gold, and I think it would be wise to continue with their involvement. And, you know, this is where I'm kind of holding back and being cautious because, you know, the strikes were still kind of being finished, still partially going on. Things can or cannot be said. And, you know, the announcement in like movie business terms was just announced. Like, making a movie takes like 2 or 3 years. So still waiting on top of that. It's a whole combination that I'm still just waiting to sit back and be like, I hope, you know, like I truly do hope that they start pushing out content, but there is no real content to push out because they just announced it. It's that whole give and take thing. So again, I'm just kind of waiting until more is announced.
I think for majority of the fandom, they just want to know, because obviously it's still speculation, even though people are speculating potentially could be right. Do Netflix still have the right to the show? I think that's what people want to know. If we find out that yes, they have the right, then we know it's going to be a completely different story of what the show is. But if they don't have the rights anymore, then we know there's a potential we could get Alba, we could get KTY, we could get them all back, but we don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Sure, like, I think they still have them, didn't they? Didn't they confirm they still had them? Netflix?
I don't know. But why do Netflix still have it if it's not going to renew it? It stresses me out.
Because that's how they do it. They keep the rights to all their original shows for like 5 years or something, I think.
So in 5 years, Warrior Nun's going to be renewed. The original cast.
I mean, hey, as long as
well,
we get it back.
I do know that, like, when it comes to licensing, and again, this just kind of goes to my old job. It's like when it comes to licensing, you can't necessarily license an actor or actress, right? I think back in the day, you might have been able to do that, but it's more so like signing them on for like Marvel, right? Like you could make a contract, like you were contracted to do the next 3 Marvel films. But I think that it's more so like, so when it comes to the actors, you don't necessarily have to worry about that, but it's more of the character within the show. And it would have to be characters that are somehow linked. Like if they were done by the network or written by the network or produced by, like if it was basically created by the network, they could still have licenses for that character. But if the character was originally within, like, I guess in this case it would be the comic, then you could technically have the license switched to still have that same character. You might just have to change certain characteristics about them. Like, I don't know, they lost a thumb suddenly. So now they don't have a thumb. I don't know. But
damn it, Ava can't hold the sword without a thumb.
A thumbless Ava, you know.
I was gonna say I'm gonna stop. Okay, go ahead. Stop, Jay.
Get your mind out of the gutter, Gray.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I have questions.
I'm very gay. I'm sorry.
I mean, but same. So I still have questions.
Anyway,
but I think it's a very convoluted process. But I'm also very, very curious. Like, does Netflix have the rights still? If so, like, are they working with them? Have they? Because I remember, again, back in my old career, it was like you could work out a different license. Like they could still hold the rights, but you could sell like a product based on a certain character, and then whatever the revenue that was brought in from that item, they would get a percentage of the sale. So I'm like, could you work something out like that? Like, hey, Netflix, we need X, Y, and Z, and you're free to hold the rights, but we're going to use the characters, and then you'll get 5%, 10%, 15, 20, whatever, from whatever the revenue that comes in from these films becomes. And that is good for 5 years.
See, there's a little bit wait and see still.
So hopefully this time next year, we'll have more clarity of what's happening.
Thanks,
Well,
guys.
there we go. Your first
Thanks
guest.
for having us.
Yeah.
All right.
And here's part 1 of our statements from Halobearers around the world.
How did you find Warrior Nun? From the OCS Philippines.
Warrior Nun was on my to-watch list after seeing the billboards and advertising for it back in 2020. I didn't end up watching it until a year later. At the time, I was unaware how the series would become important to me.
From Warrior Nun, Brazil. I found Warrior Nun through a post on the internet saying that the second season would come out in a few weeks, and I decided to watch it since everyone was talking about it. From Warrior Nun, Anzo.
It came up as a suggestion on Netflix, and then I saw people talking about it on Tumblr, so started watching it because it looked interesting.
From Nina, also with Warrior Nun, Brazil. She found Warrior Nun on Netflix list of new features in 2020. I found out about the second season that it was going to arrive on Netflix through a tweet a month before. From Robin, our data queen.
Like many others, I suspect looking for anything and everything to watch during the pandemic. I was intrigued by the concept, even if I didn't love the name, and I enjoyed season 1 immensely. But season 2 just blew my hopes and expectations away, and I completely fell in love with the show.
From Juresco, keeper of the tweet counts. From TikTok. Me too! Not from Netflix, not from posters, but from TikTok. I'm not sure which exact scene it was or which edit, but yes, same. This is exactly how the Netflix promotion worked. I was sick, lying in bed a lot at the time, so I wouldn't have to put it off for long to watch it. I started season 1 on Tuesday, November 22nd, and finished season 2 on November 23rd. Nice. I watched it nonstop all night long, and I'm very glad that I found out about Warrior Nun after the second season was released, because after the end of season 1, I would have probably thrown the TV out of the window and tried to forget about the show. What made Warrior Nun special to you? From the OCS Philippines.
Season 1 was enjoyable, but season 2 was what cemented it for me. As for one of the best series because it was the season that the story started to unfold. The characters and their developments deepened, yes, Ava Triss, and the moral dilemmas and complexities explored.
From Warrior Nun, Brazil. The connection I created with my friends was because of Warrior Nun, because we fought for the same cause. I believe that this generated this rapprochement. In relation to the fandom too, it is a very united fandom, even due to the fights that occurred, but I imagine it is always trying to improve. Warrior Nun is a series that holds you from beginning to end. You feel connected to the characters and their story. You also begin to understand why everyone did what they did. And even with everything, they are family. I think it's beautiful, the connection between them. From Warrior Nun, Anzo.
That it's a predominantly female-led cast and its diversity. Also an interesting concept for a show. A dead girl brought back to life by a holy artifact to fight demons with an order of nuns with guns. I like they're not shy with science versus religion too. It's done in a way to not have to put the other down to prove their point. Plus, of course, Mother Superior and Ava Triss.
From Nina, also with Warrior Nun, Brazil. On a personal level, I felt connected to Beatrice and also to Ava. In 2020, I cried with Beatrice because I saw her in a place where I had been years before. I remember wanting to say to her exactly what Ava said. And well, Ava has a courage and a love for life that I kind of envy. Overall, the story is amazing. All the characters are so interesting and captivating with their own stories and complexities. I mean, how can you watch a show where you feel affection and the wealth of details from the clothes they wear, the way each character fights, to their stories, and not want more from that universe? From Robin, our data queen.
It's a show led by and full of powerful, complex women who fight for each other, and that's right. What's right? It has so much to say about inner strength and family and faith and courage. It's crafted with so much care, from the stunning cinematography to the amazing stunt work and effects. beautiful writing and music, and of course, an incredible cast that breathes such life into these characters. But for me, and for so many of the LGBTQ plus fans that make up the heart of this fandom and have done everything they can to bring this show back, it boils down to this: the romantic relationship between lead characters Ava and Beatrice in Warrior Nun is a beacon of what authentic international queer female representation can and should look like.
From Juresco, keeper of the tweet counts.
This is a question that is difficult for me to answer. I've been watching series all my life, and I have watched a lot of them. On TV time, I have over 11 and a half months of watched series. But after Warrior Nun, I felt an inner emptiness and an unstoppable desire to watch further parts or constantly browse memes for it. And it was for the memes that I joined the fandom on Twitter, because for a year now, TV Time has not wanted to work on my phone. So I do not know. Thank you, TV Time. But for some reason, I'm happy that Warrior Nun was canceled, because thanks to this campaign, I met a lot of people who I can call friends. So I wouldn't trade this year for anything else, and I don't regret anything.
Why did you decide to fight for the show? From the OCS Philippines.
When I found out that it was cancelled via online articles and that there was a campaign to save it on Twitter, I wanted to be a part of the fight.
From Warrior Nun, Brazil.
Warrior Nun has become one of my favorite series. I fell in love with the characters, the story, everything. And when they announced the cancellation, it was like a part of me was taken away. Like, okay, it's over and you won't have any more. It's a series I think everyone should watch. We don't have anything forced between any of the characters, no friendship or romance, it's all natural. The actors are also very affectionate with the fans. William was even one of those I saw helping fight for the series. He was a gentleman from the beginning. Very true. Thanks, William. As we know, Netflix canceled Warrior Nun precisely because we had a sapphic couple. This is also one of the reasons why I chose to fight. We deserve a voice.
From Warrior Nun, Anzo.
Just before it was officially cancelled, I started tweeting for people to watch it. Not a lot, but I did tweet the trending hashtags. When I saw it had been cancelled anyway, I was really pissed off that yet another queer show I enjoyed was cancelled without a proper ending. I was done with being treated like shit by a TV network just because I want to see myself on the screen. I want young people to see themselves on screen so they don't have to feel ashamed about who they are. I joined in the hashtag Save Warrior Nun when it started and really began tweeting frequently.
From Nina, also with Warrior Nun, Brazil.
Representation matters. I will always support LGBT show, movies, or whatever. But Warrior Nun, I think it was for a mix of personal and character reasons. I wanted to see Beatrice grow, be free to be who she is. I wanted to see Ava live. I wanted to know more about that universe. And for the love of art. I am a lover of art, of all types of art. The love and dedication of the team is something that overflows the screen. You don't need to be on Twitter or any social media interacting with everyone in the production or having watched all the interviews to feel that Warrior Nun was raised like a child in a caring and affectionate home. Has love and care in every bit of this show. I know that every audiovisual project needs this, but with Warrior Nun, I felt this connection. I wanted to help this show continue to exist so that more people could connect.
From Robin, our data queen.
I grew up with avoid making your sapphic gaze canon Xena and Gabrielle, and bury your sapphic gaze Willow Tara. And with Warrior Nun, we finally had a quality canon, slow burn quality, women loving women relationship that was decidedly not made for the male gaze, only for it to fall victim to the latest trend, cancel your sapphic gaze. On top of the fact that Warrior Nun is actually a high-quality show with something valuable to say, I just had enough.
From Juresco, keeper of the tweet counts.
Because Warrior Nun deserved a third season. With its viewing figures, lack of promotion, it simply deserved it. Before Warrior Nun, I saw many hashtag save campaigns from the outside as an observer from the sidelines. And after the number of tweets and noise that fans made in the first days, I guessed whether it would do anything or whether this campaign would die soon. And we were very loud. So I gave us big chances from the beginning and kept it until the end.
And our next guest is Adrienne from the OCS Newsletter.
To us. All right. Continuing our series of interviews for our special Warrior Nun episode, we have with us today Adrienne, who is very familiar to many of you as head of the OCS Newsletter. Welcome, Adrienne.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. So our first question is a pretty basic one. How did you find Warrior Nun?
Tumblr. I
Oh.
saw someone saying that it was gonna be like gay baited for season 2. Like I was one of the didn't come in until before season 2 aired, and I was like, what? No, surely this, And so I watched season 1, and I was like, no, they won't do that. Will they? Won't they? And so of course,
You have
they
to watch
did.
season 2.
Yeah. They did us justice.
They
And
did us justice. Absolutely.
yeah, so it all started. I'm not even on social media. Like, the only reason why I was on Twitter was to follow, like, the lesbian authors that I read. And Tumblr, I don't even know why I was on there. And it just came up. I'd never heard of it or anything. So
It's fate.
I mean, I found it on TikTok. Like, I had literally never heard of it until right before season 2 came out, and I got hard into TikTok last year as a 40-year-old because that's what you do. But anyway, so my algorithm was extremely gay, obviously, and I started seeing Avatrice edits come across, and it was right when the first trailer for season 2 came out, and people were like, wait a minute, I feel like they might actually be giving us this couple that we want. And so I kept seeing all these edits, and then I was like, oh, I guess I should probably watch it. So I like zoomed through season 1 and was obviously completely hooked, and then blitz season 2, and it's just taken over my life ever since.
I think if you're a massive Buffy fan, if anyone was Buffy fans, you are going to love Warrior Nun, because it is basically the Chosen One in a religious setting without vampires.
I feel like there's a lot of crossover between Buffy fans and Warrior Nun fans, which leads to the next question, Jay.
Oh yeah, that's me. What made Warrior Nun special to you?
I had to say, seeing badass females kick ass. I mean, that power there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, just all the fight scenes. And then if you actually think about it, especially in season 2, Alba actually doing them herself, which you can clearly see. I always say it's the Black Widow move, when she's going on the head and flipping them over.
You would say that. You would say that.
It is Black Widow's move.
No, it really is.
It really is. That is her signature move.
She asked them to teach her that.
Yeah, and she did it herself.
Yeah.
And I was just like, so women.
And I think that's probably one thing that in my interviews and stuff, like, everybody loves the battle scene KTY at the last episode.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't have time for her to do it because it's jam-packed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you could tell that, they wanted to do it. I know that they wanted to do as many stunts as possible. The stunt team said it,
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just...
Only they could have that time.
I think for like some things on why it makes it special is because you can see how close like the cast, the writers, the directors are in real life. Mm-hmm. And that makes the show more special. Like, they genuinely care about this. You can see that through the entire fight since it was cancelled. We've had, obviously, like, with Simon's joined spaces, KTY's joined spaces, even Alba's tweeted saying thank you. And now we've got Lorena and Toya doing their weekly watches.
Mm-hmm.
And their fanfic reading now. Like, they're building the hype back up, and it's just like you can tell that they care about that show. And when actors and directors and writers care about something so much, it's shown in the finished product.
Yeah, and there would be no like OCS Newsletter without them. Like, there would have been like the newsletter, but there would be no video interviews. Like, I mean, so.
I mean, I think everybody realizes this is bigger than just a TV show to so many people. Like, I think the cast, I don't know if they knew it when they were making it. Maybe they had a little inkling. I don't know if they knew it when they were making it. They definitely know it now that they've seen our reaction to it. Like, this is not just a show to people at all. Like, it's very different. And I haven't answered the what makes Warrior Nun special to me question, because I haven't really figured it out. Like, the only thing I know is that I have watched so much sapphic television in my life, and no show has ever hit me like this one. And no sapphic couple has ever hit me like this one. And I can't really explain it. I'm still trying to figure it out, quite honestly.
Well, that was just the first answer. That's just the first answer that came to mind. I mean, I could have a whole list.
Oh, sure. I'm sure we all could. But yeah, for me, it ended up being like very personal. It's both personal, and then it's like physical because Al was beautiful, and like it's just so many different things that combined to do this. And then it's led to so many amazing things, such as my bro Jay and this podcast. Like, it's the only reason we met is because of Warrior Nun. So
yeah.
Wow.
And with yourself, if it weren't for Warrior Nun, you wouldn't have done the OCS newsletter, as you said.
I wouldn't have done anything.
No.
I mean, I would have just been going along with my life.
Right. Which, again, leads beautifully into the next question, which is what did make you decide to fight for the show after it got canceled?
Well, I actually started before it got canceled because of the lack of promo, and, got on Twitter, and I was just like, seeing all the edits and the art and everything, and got on the whole Renew Warrior Nun kick. And that's how it started. And then I thought for sure they would renew it.
I know.
I just couldn't see how it couldn't happen. And so when that post came, it was just like, what the fuck?
You're allowed to swear. You're allowed to swear. We forgot to say that at the beginning, but yes, we swear all the time. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. We do not redact this because I have a fucking trashy mouth, and I will swear.
All right. But then that moment of the Twitter space, that bonding moment with all these other people who felt the same way, who were devastated the same way that I was, really drove home the point that it wasn't just me. It wasn't just this TV show, because I went to several day depression. My wife was like, "It's a TV show." I was like, "No, you don't understand."
You were like, "No, it's not."
See, I kind of have a different story with season 2 and the renewal of it all. Well, it was a little bit sad. I didn't know season 2 was out at all. My granddad had literally just passed away, and I was, took some time off to grieve. And as you do, you scroll through Netflix, like, what mundane show can I watch to just calm my mind? And then it came up, Warrior Nun season 2, and I went, why the fuck has there been no promo?
Right.
I loved season 1. I was like, I didn't even know season 2 was out. Like, what the fuck? And it'd been out for 2 weeks or so, and I was like, what the actual fuck? So obviously, then binge watched season 2 in 12 hours. Probably less than that. I think I did it in a few hours, because it was one after the other after the other. And then I then went on to Google, and I was like, there's been no promo. They're not going to renew this, no matter how good it is. Netflix haven't promoted it. And I think they would this was during the time where they just cancelled First Kill and a load of other women-loving women shows that they were doing were being cancelled. And I was just like, this isn't sitting right with me. So obviously I joined Twitter ages ago, but I never went on it. I do not like, I'm in charge of the social media side of this podcast. I'm failing miserably because I keep forgetting to post because I just don't post. Like I'm majorly failing.
We're gonna get you a scheduler. We're gonna get you a scheduler.
Yeah, I need a schedule. I have ADHD, so I keep forgetting. I'm like, oh, I need to post, and it's 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, and then I forget. But I went onto Twitter and I went back and I started tweeting. Like for real, I was like, nah, I need to join this fight. This needs to be here. Like we need it renewed. And then obviously we got the news that it was cancelled, and even I was just like, whoa. Like my heart, it was like the massive sinking feeling. Like you've just, like for me, obviously I was dealing with that grief, and then the grief of the show. I was like, okay, now I'm actually having to grieve my granddad, but I'm also now grieving a show. I was like, nah, I don't like this. But it was heartbreaking because watching season 2 actually helped me be distracted of what was going on in my real life. And I rewatched it like 17 times in the space of a week. It was ridiculous. I think I was watching it, rewatching it. And then I got my friends, because my friends like didn't know season 2 was out, and they all love season 1. So I, went around the houses, didn't even tell them, put Warrior Nun on their TV and made them watch it.
You fought the good fight for sure.
I was fighting.
I just streamed it nonstop for like a month, I think, in the background. Yeah, I only have one Netflix account, so I didn't have anybody else's to use. But I love that's what it turned into. Like there was all of this collective grief, but then it turned very immediately into like, you know what? We're feeling our feelings. Now what the fuck are we going to do about it? Right?
Yeah. And that brought us into the fight of Save Warrior Nun. Yeah. And that, again, we are doing great at this.
Leading into our next question. It's like we planned it. We didn't.
We know that you obviously are the head of the OCS Newsletter. With doing the OCS Newsletter, what did you contribute during the fight? Now, I know obviously recently that with the anniversary of season 2 coming out, you did all of them Twitter spaces and things the whole year, because obviously it's been a year since it's been cancelled. What have you done? Do you want to talk to us about the process of what, like from the decision that you were going to do the newsletter to getting all the interviews and things and making all these spaces? Can you elaborate on that for us, please?
I didn't do anything for the campaign at all. No,
Now, we all know that's not true.
Are you a bot? Are you a bot? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, that gets paid.
AI?
Yeah, AI.
One of those bots that get paid to represent Warrior Nun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about those.
Yeah. So, Pietra, who's the one who came up with the idea, she just put a tweet out. December 26th or 27th, I can't remember. So I kept thinking about a newsletter because she wanted to place, because the numbers were changing, the data was changing so fast, and she wanted a way to keep up with it. And so I was like, yeah, I'll help, because I had been researching like behind the scenes things, like it was so interesting. On Thanksgiving Day last year, I had a Twitter discussion with Michael, who does the VRX. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I spent Thanksgiving morning talking, to him. And I was like, this is awesome, And that was before the cancellation. But it was just like, wow, like I'm getting to learn about this process. And so I started researching and like compiling like all the behind the scenes footage and everything. And so that's why I was like, oh, I'll do that for the newsletter. Well, you need a lot more space to do that than a newsletter has. But so I was like, well, I'll just start like getting stories. And so she does like the actual format, like the whole layout of the newsletter. And then I started, reaching out to people. And I was like, hey, would you mind answering some questions? And so that's how it happened with doing the interviews. And so we had Dina been first. We had William, Tristan, Sylvia. all newsletter. And they kept getting longer and longer and longer, the issues.
We're feeling that with this podcast, can we just say?
Yes.
The interviews are getting longer and longer. We're like, oh no.
Yeah. And so it was like, I have too many questions. And that's, it was kind of like, well, maybe I never wanted to be in front of the camera. Like, I'm not in front of the camera person. I just had too many questions. And so, I was like, oh, with the stunt team, I've got questions. And so it all just rolled. I mean, after the first month, we put together like an issue every single day, like in January. And I don't know how we did that. Like, I mean, like, it was like, what,
Did you sleep?
No, I had a lot of anxiety, wake up, middle of the night with ideas, and stuff. And then the interviews happened, and it flowed in a way that I couldn't do it by myself. I knew that. Like, I can't carry anything. And I was like, well, I mean, this is fandom. I'll just bring people in to help me. And I'm notorious for volunteering people. I mean, I totally ask, but I really volunteer them for projects.
Yeah.
And so that's how it all started. And like, so recruited editor, recruited people to help me interview, and it became a collaboration. And so the Order Discord server, we kind of like ended up having a home base there because so many people that help me are stationed there. And so I can pull, data, editing, people for interviews and everything, and help coordinate other things. And then when Delia said that she could do an interview, I needed Spanish speaking people because that's what she was comfortable with. And I was like, oh, my dumb American ass doesn't know it. And so, I went to different OCS chapters and, got a group together who had never interacted before, and they were willing to do it. I set them up, started the interview with them, and then, they were so nervous, which I still get nervous doing it. And then I joined back in at the end of the interview, and they had an instant bond. I mean, it was just like, oh, wow. Like, they were totally friends after that. Like, they had this amazing experience. And I was like, wouldn't it be awesome if so many other people could have this? And so the idea of the OCS Conclave was born out of that. I was like, what if we could have, people interact online? And that was like, I took like 2 weeks off in May to organize all that. I don't know if it was a 12-hour event. We had, 6 interviews, like stunt team, that was the David Hayter interview, the bombshell that they had to slip.
That got some press. That was good.
It did.
That was good.
But then we also had chat rooms for, different times for people in different languages. And then we had other segments of people doing like fanfic, or not interview. He did a thing on Warrior Nun. And I had to take a little vacation after that.
No reason at all. Not that you worked.
A lot of relaxing beverages, perhaps.
Yeah. By the beach.
But then, when we got Olivia interview, and then we got, so many, like, it was just like, it kept happening, and I had to, like, recruit more editors because I had all this footage, and I was like, I need help. And, I had one person who volunteered and self-taught herself how to edit. And I didn't know that at first. And after she sent me the product, I was like, oh, this is so awesome. She's like, really? And then she told me, and I was like, what the? You taught yourself this? So, like, you know, like the OCS newsletter is like for the fandom, by the fandom. I just happen to coordinate things. Like, and then, you know, the fundraising thing just happened because no one else was doing it. And so, like, that's how several things happened. You know, also did the Women's World Cup Warrior Nun Challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Where we had the brackets and everything.
That was fun.
Yeah. We were a part of that.
We were. I don't remember how my bracket ended up terrible because I, of course, picked the U.S. and we all saw how that went. So,
you know,
I mean, what the World Cup was just like, what is happening? Like, I wish that I would have bet on every single oddball team just for the hell of it.
I mean,
it was the most, a lot of money.
Jay probably did. I think it was probably the most entertaining Women's World Cup I've ever seen, like ever. Yeah. And I've been watching them, I think, since '99, probably, for sure. Yeah, England, I mean, you're biased, bro. We all know this.
You know, the only downside was that the time zone.
It was. So Jay could speak to this. We've talked about it before. So we created a whole separate chat in our Telegram chat for the World Cup because not all of us were football fans, but the ones that are like insane football fans that we were going to watch everything and wanted to talk about it. So we made a whole new group chat for that. And yeah, like I woke up at 1 and 3 in the morning just so I could watch and chat with my friends. And it was like one of the most fun experiences I've ever had. I just gave up on sleep for like a month. Essentially, you know, there was much better time zones for Jay, most of it, but you know, I
didn't watch any of the USA games because I would not get up at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning to watch them.
It was not worth it this time. It was not worth it this time, for sure.
Yeah. Now you're stealing one of the best managers in the world. So.
I don't know. I don't think stealing is the right word. We are luring her away with the promise of excellent money and amazing team. I know. I'm so excited. Anyway, she called up see, here we go getting random again. She called up a bunch of really new people for this camp. Did you see that, Adrienne? Like there's a bunch.
It's like a whole new generation.
I know. Some of them I've never even heard of.
Yes.
I know. That's what she did with Chelsea.
Is that what she did with Chelsea?
That's what she did with Chelsea. She got like Sam Kerr was not big until Chelsea.
I mean, she was our leading scorer in the NWSL for like a really long time, so she was big for us.
Yeah, but like she wasn't really well known in Europe, and sorry, but European football is a lot more popular than football in the United States.
He does this a lot. It's okay. We just let him do it.
Well, you know, it was on my bucket list to go to a game when I was over there, but none of the men are playing or women are playing during the con.
I mean, which con?
Yeah, which one are you going? Because there's the
the Halobearers. Yeah, there's games playing in the February. Our season's up until May.
Not that weekend.
The weekend before there.
Yeah.
Because one of our friends, Laura, is coming up the weekend before, and we're going to watch Arsenal and Chelsea women's.
And I was like, oh, you know, when you know, because sometimes the guys play on like Wednesday. I was like, oh, no.
That only happens if it's the Champions League. If it's during the week, normally it's Saturday and Sundays or Mondays. Sorry.
We're still
really digressed to football.
No, it's fine. We do this a lot. We normally have, I don't know if you've listened to any of our other podcasts, but we normally start out with a women's football segment at the beginning of every episode. Like that's how much we like football. So this is very normal for us to do this.
So yeah, we talk about a lot of football.
Well, and you know, that was an interesting thing is I ended up meeting so many different people in the fandom because of that event that I'd never talked to before. And I also was able to recruit a whole new set of people for a project. because of it.
Well,
there you go.
I'm just going to volunteer, Jay and Gray podcast. If you want us to, do anything, we're more than happily, volunteer in our efforts.
Here's your new connection. We can be your new connection. Whatever
we'll
you
be
need.
your new connection.
Every project needs somebody who volunteers people and who can find people. Which is your job. And who can find people. And that was you. You're just the person that brings everyone together. You're the mastermind, like Taylor Swift.
Literally are the mastermind on this.
And that's a nice comparison. I mean, Taylor Swift, come on.
She is the queen.
Yes. Yeah. But it also took, okay. So Petra does all the newsletter stuff. I could never do that. I tried to do a newsletter and I was like, oh, fuck this. I was like, this is impossible. So like getting all the formatting right and everything. And so I was like, okay, I'll do all the social media and stuff, and totally like failed at Facebook and TikTok. Like, I kept Instagram going. And Blue Sky, like, it's like,
I just remembered I got a code for that, and I never have used it yet. I should probably do that. Whoops.
Yeah,
I'm with you on this. I need to put a reminder on my phone to do a post every day.
It's hard to keep up, man. It's hard to keep up.
How do you keep up posting and making sure everything's in order? Like, what is your process of doing that? Like, do you have like a planner, alarms, very good memory?
I keep notes in my phone, like a to-do list.
Yeah.
And so normally, like, either I wake up in the middle of the night or first thing in the morning, it's like, oh, I need to do all this. And then I'll just check it off throughout the day. And then if I don't get to it, it goes to the next list, like for the next day.
Yeah.
And then some days, there's sometimes that I'm just like, I can't do this. Like, and so, like, I don't. I'll just wait.
Yeah.
Like, there's a project that, I'm working on, but, like, this new project that I'm doing, like, took priority, so this one got pushed back. Like, that's just how it rolls.
How it goes.
Yeah.
That's the saying, like, you've got to learn what's more priority and what more people want at the same time. So, I have a lot of respect for you, Adrienne.
I appreciate that. And, my whole goal this whole time has always been for the fandom, bringing content to the fandom, like, uplifting the fandom, because it's not just, like, people that I don't know. Like, now it's, like, people I know. It's like, oh, here you go. Like, when I got those behind-the-scenes pictures and stuff, like, I was just like, wow, this is so awesome. Now I get to share it with everybody. Like, I love being able to make people happy. And so this role has been, like,
that's
perfect.
amazing. That's amazing.
Well, I can tell you make a lot of people in the fandom happy because, like, every time you've tweeted and, like, the new newsletter comes out, it gets shared into our group constantly. When you had them spaces on the year anniversary of season 2, everyone was constantly like, oh, are you in? Or we're screenshotting, look, the IMGSS are in and we've got, like, we're all together and stuff. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to them spaces. I had to catch up on them because I had to sleep. Wrong time zone for me. But I caught up on them because they were recorded, and I appreciated that because with recording them, it's hard for people with time zones because obviously we're worldwide. We don't know what time zone's what, and it's just like I enjoyed listening to it. I really did. Like it was like listening to a podcast, and I would just be like potting around, being an adult and doing housework, and I'm listening to the space, and I really enjoyed it. So like, I'd said it to you when it was going on. I messaged you saying thank you for doing it. And I will say it to your face, like, genuinely thank you for what you have done in this fandom and in this fight on behalf of majority of people that probably haven't been able to say it. Like, you've kept everybody knew where we were within the fight with the newsletters, and now it's like you're bringing a new lease of fighting by putting all of this together. So thank you.
You're welcome. I'm glad that I'm able to. And like, but it's like, okay, may as well get mad at me if I don't. I accept that. Thank you very much. But it's also like because of you guys that I do it. Like, because you guys enjoy it so much. I've been trying to get Sarah Walker on an interview for like, you know, way back before the strike.
I love her so much. Oh, she's like my idol.
And so it was Wednesday when this happened, and I just happened to send a message. It's like, hey, the anniversary's Friday. Would you have like a little bit of time to talk? And she was like, yeah. And I was like, oh, what, you know? And so that's how that came about. And then when she gave me like the 30 minutes, I was like stressed out because I can't do 30 minutes. You know, it ended up turning into like so much longer than that. And then I was like, well, you know, let me just check with David and see if, you know, he can. And then he did. And so like, I, you know, took Thursday off and I was like, oh my God, I got all this, you know, stuff to do. Like, and that Friday I was like, I don't know how I used to do that back in January. Like, I was exhausted because I was also doing blog posts. And, you know, I've learned so much this year, like time zones being, you know, like the first one, because the website designer is 12 hours ahead of me. And so, you know, doing stuff like that, but I, you know, learned how to do blogs, you know, learned Discord. I mean, when I first got to Discord,
I can't even get into Discord.
Help.
I can't.
I can't get in, no. That's one thing I've not been able to do. I've managed to learn Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Discord. I downloaded the app and I went, what the fuck is this?
I know, I tried so hard, but it's so hard to keep up. There's just, it's all over the place.
I don't even think I could get into a group because it was asking me so many questions and I was like, wait, what? I'm like, how do I prove my age? And I couldn't even do that. I was like, I give up. Nah, it just didn't happen. So people go, I do Discord, and I'm like, I couldn't even approve my age on Discord, so I'm just going to stay quiet. Like, I think I'm a baby, but
you have a baby face. That's what
I know.
But yeah, Sarah, like, I was just like,
wasn't she there for like 2 hours in the end?
No, it was like an hour and 15 minutes or so.
Because it was, wasn't it? I remember people saying, like, she was only meant to be there for 30 minutes, and it's been over an hour.
Trying to, because I reached out to Lisa, who was the one who did the interview with her last year. Or, yeah, December, I guess. Maybe it was January, I can't remember. But I was like, you know, freaking out because I only had like 30 minutes. And she was like, okay, normally, you know, Sarah answers long, you know, her answers are long, so plan accordingly. And I was like, oh crap. So my 6 questions went to like 3. So, but it all worked out. I did notice that. It all worked out.
It all worked out. That's the important part.
And it was fun, like, you know, and except for muting her, it all went great. So.
When Simon first made the announcement that we got the show back, how did you feel?
I was shocked. Like, seriously, like, we did it. Like, and disbelieving. Like, wow. Like, and we won and, you know, everything. Like, and I believed it. Like, eventually, like that first, you know, shock, like, really? Like, but then I also went through well, what do I do now? Like, I've been fighting so long, like, you know, my daily schedule has changed because of the...
Yeah. Yep.
Catch the conclusion of our interview with Adrienne and so much more in part 2 of our special Warrior Nun podcast.